Song of Drums and Shakos, featuring guest star Scenario by Horse and Musket. Let's take a look at the scenario first, and then we'll look at the forces involved. See this little setup here? Here's an uncrossable river, except for the ford and the bridge. The attackers come in down here. If they can control the bridge and the road exit at the end of the game, they win. That's all there is to it. On the right, we have 3 Cuirassiers, one of whom is holding a banner, which means he's not going to be very good in a fight. But this allows you, when you're forced to retreat, instead of running to the nearest table edge, you run to the banner. We also have a trumpeter, who allows for, when these 4 guys are given an order by the leader, the trumpeter gives them a reroll on 1 failed activation. All of these guys are quality 3, combat 3, except the trumpet. He's only got a combat of 1. The British are light dragoons. We've got 5 of those guys, armed with a sword and a carbine. Oh, I should point out, 3 swords and carbines. This guy's just carrying a sword, and the officer has a sword and a pistol. This is, of course, Song of Blades and Heroes, so we have long, short, medium for movement. Everybody's mounted, so they're going to be moving using the long measuring stick. I'm playing 15 millimeters. Mine might look a little smaller than you'd expect. What else do we got here? The Cuirassiers cause fear, where the Light Dragoons have Elan. For the purposes of activation, they have a +1. They also have an NCO. This guy carrying the, we're going to call this guy with the banner the NCO. And he kind of, if you're within short of him, you get, I believe it's an extra bonus on the activation roll. The leaders give you a bonus on both activation and on morale checks. The NCOs do not. So that's really about it. Is there anything else I'm forgetting here? Carbines have a +1 at short range. We're using the medium stick for that. They're at -1 for the long range. And I'm a little confused because it's not clear to me. That is the stats for the firearm. And does that include the -1 for the actual firearm itself? Let me show you the firearm table real quick. This is, of course, the firearms table. See? Firearms table. In Song of Blades and Heroes, when you fire at double range, so again, here's the range bands that you're going to use. When you're at double range, you're at -1, and at triple range, you are at -2 to hit. It's opposed D6 rolls, but you also have this modifier in the table, so I believe that what's going on here is that this modifier is what you use at short range. This modifier is what you use at long, so this actually incorporates the -1 for long, and then at triple range you're at 0. But the reason I wanted to show you this is, notice that pistols, their range band is short, so you're at +1 and -1 when you're at double range. And the cavalry carbines, which is the other thing we're going to look at, you get a +1 at short range and a 0 at double range, or medium range, I guess you could call it. But that already factors in the -1. Here is my measuring tool with long, short, and medium. I'm going to roll for initiative for both sides. Nobody has any special abilities. Whoever rolls higher will be on the defense. I get a 5, and then we'll just nudge this into the camera, and a 6. So the Light Dragoons are going to have to stand strong in the face of these tough guys. I should point out, although the points are balanced, this is a 400-point battle. I don't know that it's really a balanced scenario. It's not the kind of thing you would typically see in the Napoleonic era. Light Dragoons were scouts. They were meant for harrying skirmishers, and not so much skirmishers, but kind of more running around the countryside, stirring up trouble, and running away whenever faced with a threat such as Cuirassiers. These guys are the heavy boys meant for really clearing the field. These guys are really not meant to go toe-to-toe with heavy guys. I did forget one other thing. The Cuirassiers have fear. In order to charge into melee, the Dragoons are going to have to pass a morale check. If they fail, it's not quite clear to me what happens. I looked at Song of Blades and Heroes, and there's no fear, there's terror in the vanilla rules, so I got to kind of think about how that works. We'll talk more about that once we get started. Red team coming up from the south, they are on the attack. The British will start on the south side of the table as seen. I forgot to point out generally they've got a quality of 4 with a combat of 3. The 2 leaders, both the leader and the NCO, they have a quality of 3. For their part, the French over there The leaders opted to keep the bugler near him with 1 dragoon, and then we put 2 dragoons over there. Remember, the bannerman over there is not an NCO, but he does give the I should point out, the way melee weapons work in this game is that if you have a better weapon, generally meaning more reach than your opponent, you get a +1 to combat. So the banner, though, gives him a -1, and there are some fun rules about what happens if the guy carrying the banner goes down and you can scoop it up and get off the table, then it's like extra victory points. So remember, the British want to control both the bridge and that point over there, so the leader is going to send a little detachment over here on the left over to take the ford and maybe do a sweeping maneuver. Now, the British did have the French set up first, so we're kind of responding to that a little bit. And I think the idea for the British is also going to be, let's move up here and then take some pot shots before we have to get stuck in melee, because we're not even sure if we can. By the time these French get into position to block melee, the British are going to put themselves in a position where they have to pass these morale tests, even to push them back way back. So to start the game here, what we're going to do is I got some blue and some red dice, and the commander gets 3 orders, and he's got a quality of 3. So we roll, and for every 3 or better, he can give 1 order. So he can give an order to this detachment and an order to this detachment, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Now, with this detachment over here, because the NCO is within long range, and these 2 fellows that are with him are within short range, they each get a +1 to activate. But this is going to be a total of +2. So he said, I'm going to go ahead and do all 3. The only way he fails on this, now normally their quality is a 3, or a 4, but with a +1 for the leader, +1 for the NCO, a +1 for their Elan, they only fail on 1s. So they get 1 failure, they're going to be able to move twice, and then over on this side, these 3 guys are also going to race forward. They get 3 activations, and they're going to be able to move 3 times. At the end of movement, things on the right side of the table look like this. 3 moves. These cavalry are crazy fast. We're going to go straight at them. We've already taken the bridge. All we need to do is drive off a couple of these guys, and maybe we can hold that point and we'll be fine. The leader is way back. Remember, he only had 2 activations. Used them both for motivating his troops. If they are forced to flee, these cavalry can run off to the ford, to the banner. That's what this banner does. But they're not going to be forced to flee. I think the way this works, it's a little unclear. Got to be honest with you. Well, we'll worry about that on their turn. For right now, it is the French turn, so we are going to try to activate this Cuirassier first. He's going to charge the guy in the middle. And because we have a quality of 3 with a +1 for being so near our leader, we're going to get 3 actions. And that's going to be really important, the way movement works. Because he is cavalry, we can lay this down, and oh, look, he is going to be able to get into contact. That forces, so that's 1 of our activations. We still have 2 left. If they fight, this Cuirassier is going to have he's going to be able to make a mighty blow. He's got 2 actions left, so that's pretty huge. But first we need to see if this guy even sticks around. If he fails even 1 of these, and remember, he's got a quality of 4, so it's probably likely. There's our triple 1s, and he says, I'm out. 1 failure, the model must move towards the closest table edge, or bannerman. On 2 failures, it must make 2 moves. On 3 failures, it automatically runs away or surrenders. Oh my goodness. So without striking a blow, we've already driven that guy off the field. Which leaves him, and the timing is a little suspect. I think what happens is the guy runs off, he's off the table. That's the first action. We still have 2 more, so we'll go ahead and move into contact here. That is the second action. So if the Frenchman does get to fight, we'll see. We got to roll 4s. So we make all 3, so we are going to be locked in hand-to-hand combat. Because we have just 1 action left to make this blow, it's going to be a roll-off for melee. And the way melee works, again, like I said, these guys both have swords, so nobody gets a bonus for the weapons. Ultimately, that means that both of these guys have a combat of 3. Same weapons, no bonus for mighty blow. So this is just going to be an even roll-off. However, bear in mind, the armored breastplate that the French guy is wearing means that you have to beat him by more than 1. On a tie, they stay where they're at. If you beat them by 1, it's classed as a tie. So obviously the red die for the red coats, blue die for the blue coat. Adding 3 to both of these dice, and we get a tie, and that means there is no result. So the next thing we'll do is bring the leader into the action. He says, I'm going to run up and I'm going to help my buddy. So we roll for activation. He gets a 1, 2, and a 5, and he has a quality of 3, meaning he's only going to get the 1 activation. Oh my. He probably should have ordered that trumpeter, but the trumpet only has a combat of 1, so that wouldn't have worked out so well either. We'll go ahead and use the 1 combat, the 1 move to charge. Let's charge this guy. Force him to make that quality check, and with a result of a 2, 3, and a 3, he is going to run off the field as well. I suspect that you could argue that, like, there's a little something here that kind of disturbs me about the way I'm doing this. I think that when you announce the charge, that's when the guy has to make his check. And then if he fails his check, then you can declare, like, have you spent your action or not? That would lead to 2 very different games. But I'm going to call it quits right there. I think the key here to remember is that by failing those 2 checks, this leader has now caused a turnover. It's going to be the British turn. The British commander would like to get back in this fight. He'd like to give these guys another order, so he tries for 3 and gets all 3 actions. We grab the measuring stick, and as normal, as long as he's touching it, then you can move him along, and that is his first order. And we'll turn off the auto zoom because it's obnoxious. So we'll just do a hop, skip, and a jump to bring us closer. Now he is within long of that NCO. Now the beauty here is he can use 1 action to give an order, and he can use that last action to move against. But by giving the order to this group, hey, get across the bridge, the group makes its actions first. You can't move him up as your set. Well, I guess technically we could, couldn't we? We could move him up long. Let's do that, because then when he gives the order, yeah, we'll do the 2. But for the record, you can, in this game, unlike vanilla, move, give an order, and then move again. I'm going to go ahead and move, give the order, but I'm going to kind of tuck him over here. I think that's probably a little smarter play. Now, that will make it a little more awkward to get across the ford, but that's okay. I'm good with that. Remember, he just has a pistol. So he gives an order to this group, and that group has the NCO with him, so they will activate on 2s. They are going to have 2 successes. We don't have a turnover, so the turn isn't over. And these guys can make 2 actions. That being the case, I think what I want to do is bring... what we really want to do is start shooting. So I'm going to, as a group action, the models do not have to perform the same action, but they do have to be in base-to-base contact. So I pulled him back just to make it clear that that's what's going on. That means he can race long over here, and he's going to use his actions to fire. So that's his first action. He has 2 left. Because he is mounted, he is at -1 with his carbine. Because he is firing at, well, let's look at that firearms table one more time to make sure we get this right. The cavalry carbine uses the range medium, so that's this one. So that's 1 and then 2. He can fire at this leader over here who says, "What? Where did you come from?" I was so focused on the bridge, I didn't notice this little ford that I gave these guys an order to. Oh, I just talked myself out of it, didn't I? All right, so he's going to fire, and that is going to mean that he has to reload his gun. But that's okay. Let's roll some dice first and see what happens. That is a huge result. If we tally up all of the modifiers, both of these models have a combat score of 3. That makes this a result of 9. This is 4. At medium range, there's no modifiers. Oh, you know what? This goes down by 1, and that is important because that means this is a result of a 3. This is a 9. Tripling is a gruesome kill. Not only that, but the British, via lucky shot, so he's out of ammo, have stunned the French. Their leader is down, and their guys are likely to panic. So we have to shift our attention here for a moment to the French riders. The French figures all have a quality of 3, so we'll start with the guy with the banner. For every failure, oh wow, that's great, right on the point. For every failure, so he got 2 successes. For the 1 failure, he has to ride away from the enemies. Long move is going to take him off the table. That's gonna. We probably should have done him last. That was a mistake, because anybody else would have fled the table towards him. Whoops. All right, well, that being the case, let's check this guy, and he's going to succeed all 3 times, but he also witnessed the gruesome kill, so we have to check again, and again he's going to succeed all 3 times. What about the trumpeter? Trumpeter is going to fail once, and he's going to ride off the table. That first failure is hurting him. The last Cuirassier is going to fail just once, but that is enough. He is gone. And again, that's why I should have started here, because if this guy had failed just once, he would have ridden in this direction, and it would have gone very differently. I think if the friendly leader is wounded or killed, yeah, we got that. I guess that's it. So we got 1 guy left to hold the line, and bear in mind, we still have 2 more French light dragoons. Man, I thought this was going to be a total cakewalk for the French. Shows what I know. This one is going to make his 1, 2, and 3 moves. He can come swinging around the corner like that. And then this one will do the same. He will come. Now we have to put it where he can travel. So there's 1, and we're going to spread out 2, and we're going to take him to number 3 over here. And I think that's not going to do it for us, to be honest with you. We still have 1 more guy who is going to take 3 actions. I'm talking about this guy here. He's going to try to sit on the bridge, and with a 3, 3, and a 6, now he's got a quality of 4. That would be the end. But he says, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and come up to here, and that will end the turn for the British. The French guy says, well, listen, I got 3 activations. I'm going to try to retake the bridge. He's going to get just 1 action altogether. He's only successful on 3s. So he will charge the bridge. Kadoop! And force that British Dragoon to make a morale check. The Dragoon does not have any support. He's going to fail twice, and he can't go towards the banner. So here's where you have to exercise a little bit of judgment. The guy with the banner is between the charger and the Dragoon. So instead, that Dragoon is going to have to race back 1 and 2, and he's just barely going to stay on the table. But this fella here is, I think this scenario is pretty much over, because he's going to have to withstand a lot of rifle shots. We'll start with this. This guy wants to reload his carbine, all right? And he is within line of sight, so of his leader, so he can get, oh no, Snake Eyes, that's terrible. He needed 2 actions. He's only going to get 1, and so I guess that 1 will just kind of bring him up to here, and we have the benefit of some patience. Because if this guy takes all 3 actions, he gets 2, and he says, all right, well, you know what, I think I'll go ahead and charge him. So he uses 2 actions to come over here. The guy with no weapon says, I'll stand my ground. He fails. Look at that, all 3 times. Is he within a long of his leader man? Look at that. He's not, which means he is going to fail all 3 times, and he says, I'm out of here. Oh boy, this is how the fortunes of war swing. The fates are fickle indeed, but he's still got a couple of different things. So we're down to 4. So once again, let me pull this back a little bit. I am going to start with the leader this time. He's going to try to take 3 activations. He gets 2, and he says, hey, big boy, I think I got you. He's going to ride up to here, and he is within 1, 2 short, which means he can take a pot shot with his little pistol. We'll roll for the pistol. That will put him out of ammunition. So we drop our little blue tag and check our combat values. And the great thing is, this guy, does he have a carbine? Maybe he should start shooting. Yeah, Cuirassiers, they do have carbines. The pistol is going to be at a -1, but the leader has a combat of 3. Oh, does it? No, the officer has a quality of 3, combat of 2. The officer, I think, is it -1 when you're on horseback? Yeah, I forgot about the firing from horseback. Maybe that triple shouldn't have happened. I think I missed one back there. So he's at a total of -2 to the red die. That's going to be a 1. +3 takes him back up to a 4 because of his combat. And then this guy's going to be at a 7. So that is a total miss. Then we're going to try to bring that guy back up from way far back. That Dragoon is only going to get one move, and that's going to take him up to here. That will end the turn for the British. The French Cuirassier says, I'm having a good time chasing people off the table. He's only going to get one action, and that's not going to be enough to get into combat. So he says, hey, you guys had a lot of luck firing at my leader. I'm going to fire at yours. And he takes a shot with his carbine. At short range, he's going to be at +1. Ooh, but he's at -1 because he's on a horse. So the blue die is going to be a total of -1 +1 +3. That will result in a 5. The leader's result, as he tries to get out of the way, is going to be a, let's see, we add 2 for his combat, and he gets beat. Now, because, I shouldn't have done that, should I? What was this roll? It was originally a 2. And that's significant because whether it's odd or even changes the result. If you fire at somebody and you hit them, they fall. Wait, you are fall or thrown off balance. Still actively fighting, but it's at the mercy of its enemy. So he goes down. He's going to have to use an action to stand up. Nobody gets any of the bonuses until he does so. And of course, this guy over here is also out of ammunition. We'll start with the leader, try to get him back on his feet. He takes 3 actions. He is going to get 2 altogether. So he uses his first action to stand up, and he uses his second action to move. Again, he can move long, so we'll bring him over to here. And now, when this guy tries to activate, he is going to be at a +1. So I'm only going to try to activate twice with him. I just want to get him up on the bridge. With a 6 and a 2, he can move once, and he gets up on the bridge. This guy can't charge directly at him. He's got to go around the corner. It's going to take him 2 actions to get there. But I do still have a couple of guys. This guy is going to ride up and take a shot as well. We try to get him into short range. We've got 3 opportunities. We fumble on all 3 of them. And now the French guy says, all right, I'm going after your bannerman this time. He rolls to activate, and he gets a total of 3 activations. Those 3 activations mean that he can... Is he within? So he's got to choose. He can reload his carbine, or he can charge. We're going to charge. Aha! And with 1 move, we get into combat. That bannerman says, Rutro Raggy, I need to make some quality checks. He's going to fail twice and run off the board. And that means our Cuirassier says, I've only used 1 activation. Fine, I'm going to charge this guy and see what he can do. And now I'll only have a +1, but that guy has to make his rally check. He'll fail twice and run off the board. So, yeah, here, so... I guess we probably should have had turn limits on this battle, because if the British could have held on to that backside long enough, then this guy would have been out of options. But as it is, he says, look, I've still got 3. I'm getting a little tired of running around here, but I might as well go ahead and try to get close. Well, we're going to swim around this way, though. That way he's got the straight line shot. The British are going to say, well, you know what? We could just ride past him. I should have been keeping track of turns. What we could have done is say after 8 turns, the turn ends on a 4-5-6. 9 turns on a 5-6. And then on 10 turns, that way they have to be a little more aggressive about securing their position. As it is, this guy is going to make 3 actions. And he'll get all 3. So we'll bring him over to here, close enough that if he fails an activation, then he has a safe avenue of retreat. But in the meantime, he has 2 actions left, so he can take a shot. And by taking an aim shot, this guy's quality goes down to 2. So we roll for him, and he gets a total of 5. Our British Light Dragoon takes a shot with his carbine, and he gets a total of 5, plus his quality of 3. He is at short range, so that's another +1. And, boy, so let's think about this. That makes this a total score of 8 versus 3, 4, 5. 8 versus 5. We really needed to double them up. It didn't happen, so this guy just gets pushed back 1 base width. And then our leader says, I'm going to get on the bridge. He tries to activate. He gets 1. And because, this is about the best he can do. Remember how this works? You put it in contact with your buddy, and then you kind of swing it around, and your figure has to be in touch with it. So we'll get him just up there, just on the bridge, and that's going to end the turn. Which puts the initiative back onto the side of the Frenchman, who says, I can beat you in a stand-up fight. Well, he's only going to get the 1 action, though. So he's only going to be able to charge. And if our boy, is he within long? We should have kept him within long, because then he would have had a bonus. He would have been successful on 3s. As it is, he's going to fail twice, and he's going to race back to behind his leader to there. And that's going to end the Frenchman's turn. That's the only option he had. So now our leader says, let's just go ahead and get this over with. I'm going to order this guy to charge back into contact. He's only going to get 1 activation, because he's at 4, plus 1. Plus 2 for the Elan. He actually gets all 3 actions. So he's going to race up here. And then he's going to make a morale check. He's going to see if he can get into contact. And he gets all 3 success. Well, let's see. He needed all 4. So he's going to stop right there. Then the leader says, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to roll for 3 actions. I'm going to get 1, 2 actions, and I'm going to reload. And then it is the French guy's turn, and he's only going to get 1 action, which is enough to get into combat. Our light dragoon is now at a +1. He's going to fail once, and he's going to have to fall back to here, and that's the end of the turn. So the leader says, okay, wait, who's out of ammo was this? I think it's this guy's, yeah. He says, all right, I can take a pistol shot. That could work. Although he's only got a combat of 2, so he's not great with that. And, oh my goodness, he does not have a pistol. It is the French officer that has a pistol. I guess he had just a 1-shot pistol. And I don't know. We'll have to, rationalize it somehow. He says, all right, well, I'm going to charge in combat. Oh, no, he's going to send this guy into combat, isn't he? Yeah, and with 3 successes, this guy's going to go. But, he's got to pass all 3 checks. And he passes 2. So this is really hard, man. So he's not gonna charge. He's just gonna hang out. And then the leader says, okay, well, maybe I'll charge. And he's gonna get 2 actions. So that's 1 action to get into combat. And then we check for morale, and our leader is gonna fail 2. He's gonna stay put. French guy says, all right, well, I'll charge the leader. He's only going to get 2 actions. So he'll use the first to get into combat, but we have to make the morale check. Passes with flying colors, and now we have a fight on our hand. Both guys have swords. The combat skill score for the French guy is a 3, and for the French leader, the combat skill is a 2. Now, you can't just say, oh, well, that's an effective +1, because the doubling changes the math. So instead, we're going to roll, and we get a 1 for the British, +2, that becomes a 3. I didn't have the mighty blow, so bear that in mind. So that becomes 3 to 8. That's a doubling, and that means this guy is going to go down, and that means that last light dragoon is going to have to make a morale check. He fails twice, and that is sufficient to cause him to race once and twice. And it's getting dark over here. It must be nightfall here on the table. So you can see he is now going to be at the edge of the table. So that is going to be a victory for the French, largely because we didn't pay attention to timing. So we got to work on that. We got to redesign this, maybe step back. This is one of the hazards that you run into when you try to mix and match rule sets. You got to think about it a little bit more. But the French honor has been preserved after an early significant setback. The Cuirassier reloads his gun and says, haha, I almost single-handedly defeated a flight squadron, I don't know what you call it, 7 light dragoons. So kind of a fun little game, a little different. I think that this would benefit from larger units. I really think that at the 400 point level, Song of Blades and Heroes, Song of Drums and Shakos is a little too small. I think you want to get like a convention game going. I think you want to have 5 or 6 units on either side, and just each guy can do his thing. When he gets double failures, then his turn is over, but everybody else can keep going, and then the play flips to the other side. I think that you're missing out on the combined arms that really make Napoleonic battles shine. But it's a lot of fun to get some historicals on the table. We don't do nearly enough of that around here. The days are growing short, and there's just, the hobby is so full of options. Sometimes it's hard to cycle back around. I think next time why don't we go ahead and see what happens if we do a little bit more sharp action, right? Quick's the word, sharp's the action. A little more infantry on infantry, and we'll play around a little bit and see. Maybe we'll just adapt one of the scenarios. Well, we don't have to adapt it, do we? Maybe we should just play one of the scenarios that Andrea gives us. Because after all, the scenarios that he put in this book, I would presume, are designed for the rules in the book. But, quality control in this industry. You can never quite tell. I trust Andrea, though. I've played a number of his games. He's done a number of interviews over on Rule of Carnage, for example. Go check those out. Till next time, I'm praying for you.